minutes we are going to do the meditation first, loving kindness meditation, few minutes. After the few minutes, Bhante Venerable Sanath Vihara is going to give a Dhamma talk. After Dhamma talk, question and answer. Then last item is chanting. So right now, Venerable Panyaloka is going to lead the Metta meditation.
It's time for us to practice the loving kindness meditation. Relax yourself. Breathe in and breathe out. Now we are going to follow the metta thoughts in the chanting book. Practice these loving kindness thoughts silently. May I be well and happy, peaceful and free from suffering. May no harm come to me. May no difficulties come to me. May no problems come to me. May I always find fulfillment. May I also have patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. May my teachers, all Dharma teachers, parents, brothers and sisters, friends and relatives, may all beings in the universe be well and happy, peaceful and free from suffering. May no harm come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May no problems come to them. May they always find fulfillment. May they also have patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. Practice these loving kindness thoughts for a few more minutes, and you can stop the loving kindness meditation with the sound of the bell.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu.
Thank you, Venerable Panyaloka, leading the meditation. Earlier, I forget to say something. Happy New Year, especially for Mr. Nam and for everybody. Happy and prosperous and peaceful New Year. It is Lunar New Year. I think it started last night around 12 o'clock midnight. So, by the way, next coming Sunday, which is 29, we're going to celebrate New Year in our temple. We're going to give a dana for the monks and the gift for the lay people and lunch for lay people also. Mostly, I believe, Sri Lankan food. So please and come join with us next Sunday, 29 of this month, in this place here. Right now, I like to invite the Venerable Sanatha Vihar to give a Dhamma talk. I really appreciate about his coming to our temple. When I invite earlier, a few weeks ago, he said, Bhante, I want to come to your temple. I said, yes, please come and join with us. And he accepted my invitation and he's here right now. I know he's a very busy person. I just asked when you can do next talk. He said, oh, whole year I'm busy. I'm booked ready whole year. So maybe next year, Bhante.
Hopefully.
Come and join with us. Okay, thanks again being with us.
Bhante.
So you can start your Dhamma talk.
Thank you, Bante. First and foremost, I'm paying my respects to Chief Bante. Thank you for the kind words. I'm also paying my respects to all the senior Bantes, members of the Sangha, Upasikas and Upasikas. Thank you for this invitation. And before I start, I'll pay my respects to the Buddha. Namo tase bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhase. Namo tase bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhase. Namo tase bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhase. So nice to be back after a long time, Bante, in person, right? Since
Yes.
COVID.
Yes,
Yeah.
almost 2 years, more than 2 years.
Bante, yes. Before every couple months I was coming before Bante.
Yes.
I'm so happy to be here in person. I know I've been online a couple times, and some of you have seen me there also online. But I'm happy to be here and to see the place full again, alive, you know?
Yes.
Some people don't know this, Bante, but you know this, that I actually grew up down the street as a little boy.
Yes, I remember you told last time.
Since I was 1 year old until I was 4, I lived by 8th Street in Vermont.
Oh, this one block away.
And then when I was a teenager, I lived for about 4 years on 4th and Catalina.
Wow.
So right here, but I never knew this place. I was blind. The Vijay, right?
Yes.
I didn't know.
This is almost 50 years old.
Yeah.
Temple.
Yeah. So every time I come here, it's like I feel like a homecoming, right? Like coming back home. I love Koreatown. Those of you that know me know I come up with any excuse to come out here and visit, especially, you know, to have delicious Korean food and Thai food and all the good places that are out here. But yeah, so I just kind of wanted to share that, just to acknowledge, you know, that how long I've been gone from here and probably be gone another year again before I come, and how much like being here in Koreatown, in this area, means so much to me. But now I want to share some teachings, some formal teachings of the Buddha. There's a lot of, I see a particular kind of emphasis when we talk about like panya or wisdom, right? Or insight. Usually, at least in the circles that I've, you know, been around and what pops up in my social media and my algorithms, when we hear about panya, it seems like it's a very limiting sense, right? Like it's just like this one thing, like anicca, dukkha, and anatta, or Four Noble Truths. which is true. That is like the core of it. That is the main essence of it. But I've seen in my own practice in the beginning, when I focused just on this kind of particular wisdom, and in this particular practice, of like practicing what people call like insight meditation or vipassana satipatthana, there was a little bit of stoicism to it, a little bit of coldness to it, a little bit of individualism to it, a bit of intellectualism to it. All these kind of things kind of went with that. But when I read the suttas, I noticed that Bhante, the Buddha, right, the Sammasambuddha, and the other arahants and people in that time were so warm and nice and compassionate. And then I looked around, how, especially within like Theravada, insight, vipassana, scholarly things, how those people acted. And I was like, well, there's something missing here, I think. We see the Buddha and the people at the time of around the Buddha at that time, and then I see people now who are practicing according to the teachings of the Buddha, but they're not behaving this way. There's some disconnect. In my own experience in my practice, I felt some emptiness or some coldness. I felt like there was something missing there. But luckily enough, the answer was staring me right in the face, both in practice, in my teachers, in the Sri Lankan community that was around me, and and in the suttas themselves. And that was the practice of the Brahma Viharas, especially metta. And so then I want to share this particular sutta with you called the Ummagga Sutta. Ummagga Sutta is in the Anguttara Nikaya, in the Book of Fours, 180 something. I'm bad with numbers and bad with names. So in this sutta, the second part of it, there's this man who asked the Buddha what is penetrative or transcending wisdom. I use transcending wisdom also because we're here. It's like Vietnamese temple. I want to kind of incorporate that Mahayana aspect, the transcending wisdom, or we can say penetrating wisdom. Nibbedika panya, penetrating wisdom. What is this penetrating wisdom? And this is going to sound very familiar. This is what I've always been talking about. It's the kind of wisdom that there's a lot of emphasis on because it leads to liberation. Here the Buddha says this penetrating wisdom, this transcending wisdom is dukkha, nirodha, dukkha, magga, nirodha, and magga. So dukkha is insatisfactoriness, suffering. That is the transcending wisdom, if you can understand this. Then samudaya, its origin or its cause, which we know as tanha. Then there's nirodha, cessation, nirvana, awakening. And magga, the Noble Eightfold Path, that which leads to awakening. This is the penetrative, transcending wisdom. But it doesn't end there. This other person asked the Buddha, what is vast or grand wisdom? Mahapanyo. What is that? The Buddha says, that grand wisdom, that great wisdom, that broad wisdom is the intention or having no intention of ill will towards oneself, towards others, and towards both. Having the intention of benefiting oneself, benefiting others, and benefiting all. This is the great wisdom, the grand wisdom. So in reading this sutta, I'm like, yeah, that is that other part that we're missing. At least in the circles that I've been around, or the emphasis that lack of emphasis is not there on this mahapanya. We're very good at pushing the emphasis on the transcending wisdom, which is accurate because we need to reach that ultimate goal of freedom from suffering. But on the way there, this great wisdom, this vast wisdom, will also be of much benefit to us. if we look how to get to that transcending wisdom in the formulation that the Buddha gave us of the Eightfold Path, we see it right there. We see the Mahapanya right there, the great wisdom. Starting off with Samasankappa, right intention. What is that? Renunciation, non-anger, non-cruelty. It's right there. Non-ill will. It's right there. Where else do we see it? Sammavacha, Samakamanta, and Sama-ajiva. Right speech, right action, and right livelihood. That's also having non-ill will for others. Right? So here in these steps, we see it. But the emphasis, at least in my experience, always tends to be on samadhi, like samasati and samasamadhi. Like there's a lot of emphasis on the, right view, as there should be, right mindfulness, and right samadhi. They're like jhanas, the deeper absorption meditations. And we kind of like miss the thing that holds it all together, the middle steps, right? Of the intention of the thoughts of the samankappas. That's very important. It's essential. There's another sutta called the Megaya Sutta. And there it's a talk between Venerable Ananda and the Buddha. And Venerable Ananda tells the Buddha, Bhante, what is the cause? What is the reason, for having good behavior, for practicing sila? Why are we keeping the precepts? What's the whole point of this? And the Buddha says, to be free from worry. Right? About like, oh, I hurt others. What's going to happen? Are they going to come after me? Punishment from the king? What, am I going to be reborn in a bad place? All these kind of things, right? Sometimes, a lot of the time, our meditation or lack of progress in our meditation is due to not understanding this part. Right? We meditate a lot, we study a lot, we have great teachers, we have all these great conditions. But how is our speech? How is our behavior? How is our livelihood? What are the activities that we do? Who do we associate with? All those things are the things that cause worry in our mind. So then when you try to meditate, your mind goes towards all those things. The way to overcome this is by changing our intentions or changing our motivations in life. I like to use motivation for Sankappa. Because if we change our motivations or we change our goals in life, then our actions and our speech and everything that we do is going to follow. So it's not until we reorientate our life that we're going to be able to really be able to practice or incorporate this other Mahapanya, this great wisdom. By making an effort to cultivate goodwill, metta, loving kindness towards oneself, towards others, and all. Towards cultivating karuna, compassion, towards oneself, towards others, and towards all. Same thing with mudita, right? Not being jealous, but rejoicing when other people get good things. And also upeka, right? Not being distraught or tormented or bothered by the way things turn out. That doesn't mean indifference, that you don't care. It just means that you understand that everything happens due to cause and effect. You can take that step and see things. Oh, there's certain things that happened in the past, and that's why this happened. So you're able to understand it with this kind of karmic view. There's this kind of more of acceptance. This upeka can mean like looking upon or looking within, right? So there's that kind of distant view, that broader view that we're talking about Mahapanya, that big, vast view. You're able to see, contextualize the suffering of yourself, others, and everyone. So how do we connect this transcending wisdom to this great wisdom or vast wisdom? I already kind of explained that within the Eightfold Path, but there's a very kind of direct connection between these two. If we connect the Four Noble Truths with this, what the Buddha said of non-harm for non-ill will for oneself, for others, and for both. And the benefit of oneself, others, and both. So, when we look for ourselves, non-ill will for ourselves or non-suffering for ourselves, and what's for the benefit of ourselves, we start off by dukkha, looking at dukkha. Right? Instead of suffering, we have that goodwill that we do not suffer. We also have that goodwill, that metta, towards us being free from that suffering, right? Eliminating the causes of that suffering and the path to getting to that freedom from that suffering. So in order to be able to actually reach this kind of transcending wisdom and understanding of the Four Noble Truths, that's going to require some metta for yourself first, some loving kindness for yourself, that you deserve to be free from suffering. Instead of trying to practice this, self-mortification, I'm not worthy of awakening, I should suffer, I did so many bad things. I know there's suffering, but it's justified for me. So the metta will give you that other perspective of, no, I, like others, also deserve to be happy and to be free from worries and to be well and to be peaceful. And that goes for the other things too, right? I deserve to be free from the causes of suffering. I deserve to actually practice and be able to walk the path towards freedom from suffering and achieve it. I can achieve it. But then the Buddha also talks about others, right? So then we also have to have that same view towards others, towards dukkha. They also deserve to be free from suffering. They also deserve to be free from the causes of suffering. They also deserve to walk the path to be free from suffering, and they also deserve freedom from suffering itself. Sometimes I know in Theravada we get kind of accused of being very selfish, selfish awakening, right? Small awakening, that's what they call us, Hinayana. It's only for me. But if we put this, transcending penetrative wisdom together with this grand wisdom of the loving kindness, Brahma Viharas, with the Four Noble Truths, we can see that kind of like bodhisattva wish is there to actually help other beings be free from suffering, as we see the Buddha and the Arahants and all the monks, in Theravada actually do. They help other beings also try to reach that awakening, right? They're just not forestalling their own awakening, right? That's the only part they're not doing. But the wish for other beings to be free of suffering is there. We see it in this sutta that I'm sharing with you. So I just wanted to share with you in brief how we can connect loving kindness, compassion, the Brahma Viharas, with this deeper truth of the Four Noble Truths and Paticca Samuppada and the five aggregates and insight and all of these other things, They both need to actually work together, and they support each other. So I think there needs to be a shift, and I'm so happy to see a shift even within Western and Theravada circles or meditation circles. There's more emphasis on compassion and loving kindness that we have now. I think it's a great shift that's happening right now, and it's something that's been lacking for a long time, but I kind of want to do my part in kind of helping everyone with that, and that's why I gave here this talk today, because I kind of want to tell you, as a Theravada monk, like it's okay to go towards that compassion. It's not a soft thing, right? It's not like, it's just a fluffy kind of like New Age Theravada Buddhism that's coming along. It's not in the suttas. It's not serious meditation. No, compassion. Metta Brahma Viharas is very serious meditation. And the Buddha himself says, that it should be cultivated. And he calls it the great, vast wisdom, the Mahapanya. So Bhante knows that I actually like to talk to people more than I like to preach. I'm not very much of a preacher. I like to have interactions because that's just the way I am. I like conversations. So I like to reserve most of the time for actually questions and answers and dialogue and comments and feedback. So yeah, Bhante?
Yes. If you have any question, so you can ask.
Hello, Nam.
Welcome back, Bhante. I'm very happy to see you today. And as the Vietnamese, we celebrate New Year. So happy New Year to you. And I want to, because I'm waiting to see anybody can have a question to you, but I just started. Since I really recognize as a five precept of lay person, and I work on the five precept. Well, whoever know, five precept is not to kill, not to steal, not to involve with the sexual conduct, not to lie, and not to intoxicate it. So for the lay person, I try to work on that one, 5%, and look like it's, oh, only 5, it's easy. It's not easy. But if you recognize that 5%, I found myself just like the levy to help me to prevent all the harmful thing. And I realized that when I practice 5%, I feel very helpful, and also I feel I'm close to people around me. I saw the people around me, they nice to me, more nice to me, more honest, helpful, all kind of thing. It's talk like the miracle. This is not a miracle. This is my own practice. I turn myself, my mind, to practice that way, and I receive the benefit from that. So I'm so very grateful with the Dhamma and the lake 5% for the lake person. I want to share my practice, my own practice with you today, with you and with the audience.
Thank you, Nam. Yeah, the act of practicing the precepts, even if it's just one precept out of the 5, shows that you have some level of metta already, loving kindness, right? Goodwill towards others. And you're working on your own benefit because you're avoiding unskillful thoughts, unskillful actions, the consequences of unskillful thoughts and actions in the future, right? You're protecting yourself. And also by doing it, you're protecting others because you're not hurting others. So even just following the 5 precepts, or if you can keep 1 precept, that means you're developing metta. You have loving kindness, right? It might be a little bit, but you have it there and you can get it started, right? So even though you can't keep all 5, I want to use kind of that motivation, right? Use it like your strength. I can keep this precept, right? And that by keeping that precept, it's going to help me build my metta.
Like for the first precept, not to kill. So of course, I don't feel like killing anybody or anything. I don't like killing. But instead, not killing is not enough for me. So I learned this from the monk, the teaching. A lot of monks the teaching, and then said, so I do the charity, save life and helping out people. The people around me need help. If I am able to help them, I just help them, and I feel this is giving me a lot of full of joy to helping out people. So that's one of my practice. Some of practice is like that I like to do. Not like
Yeah, and that's a great way to increase your metta, right? Take it to the next level, not only by reframing, but by actually doing, right? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you again for your wonderful talk. I love how you penetrate to the actual essence of Buddhism and the beauty of it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Ananda?
I want to repeat what he said.
Okay.
So I would like to ask if, so you said that there was one wisdom that had to do with the noble truths. There was a second wisdom that had to do with the Dhamma Viharas.
Yes.
Is there another kind of wisdom? Maybe for lay people or something? Like maybe in the suttas?
So I think these 2 wisdoms also apply to lay people, Maybe it can't be to the same extent, right, as monks. But I think especially the Mahapanya can really work for the lay people, right? Because you have to interact with others. That means you have to treat them nicely, kindly, with compassion, be generous, right? Be nice to others and practice charity and things like that. So I think that one probably for lay people is a little bit more accessible, right? And being kind to yourself, that one, I think especially for Westerners is probably the the harder one, right? We beat ourselves up in the head, so we should probably start there in our daily life. When you're at work, instead of seeing your shortcomings at the work, at gym, in your sports, or in your hobbies, or in your relationship, treat yourself with loving kindness and compassion, right? In everything that you do.
Father, do you think that like the noble truths are meant to be practiced differently for monks and for lay people? Because when you think about suffering and letting go of something, you don't have to be a monk to have the wisdom to let go of things that are hurting you. So, and I think that there's a story where someone asked the Buddha, "Is there any lay people that are practicing on the same level as the monks?" And the Buddha said, "Not one, not 10, not 100,000."
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, so there really isn't no distinction, The only thing is like the conditions that facilitate, right, that awakening. And the monastic path is a place where those conditions are like easier, right? They're kind of serving you to work that. And when you're in the lay life, you all know there's so many things that are like making it difficult for you, even just to like sit down or do some chanting or do the basic things that even show up here, right? So the awakening is the same, right? The path to awakening is the same, but it's just that the monastic path gets rid of a lot of the distractions and obstacles and hindrances that would make your attainment a little bit slower and more difficult. Oh, yes, sorry.
Yes, I have a question. So we are humans, very tribal creatures, and I've noticed that recently practicing, unjust talk and unjust actions actually a lot of times gets more condoned than actually practicing right actions and right speech. Can you speak to potentially the difficulty of maintaining those practices with communities that actually condone the other actions, and then how can you potentially help people who are practicing those practices see a better way without sounding too preachy or trying to convert them?
Yeah, here I think it's like the best way is to walk the path yourself, and embody it. Sorry, I can't see you. Just to be it yourself. And if people see that it's working for you and that you're a jolly person or that you're helping a lot of other people, it's just like if you see a person who's like really rich or in good shape, like, hey man, how did you get in shape? Like what diet, what exercise are you on, right? Or like, how'd you make all that money? I saw you pull up in that Beamer now, like what's going on, right? Like people get interested when they see good things. They want it. So when you embody that, they see that you're happy, that you're successful, not in the typical way, but like helping people, and you're very kind and generous, they're gonna get curious about it and start asking you, right? And they're gonna see how their life is overly complicated and how they're making their life more difficult, and see that you're kind of walking around a little bit more at ease. And they're gonna ask you for it. They may not do it in public because they're a little bit shy, But in private, they'll come up to you and they'll be like, hey man, I noticed like this and this about you. Like, how are you doing? I saw you post that. Like, what's that about? So I think the best way to reach those kind of people is just to embody it and also accept that some people, their delusion is so thick, like this life is not for them, right? Like it may not happen in this life. So there's where the equanimity has to kind of come. We have to accept that they may not be able to progress, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that we accept the actions and their speech that they're doing.
Thank you.
Bhante, would you say that the metta bhavana it's an essential part of the
Just
practice,
1 second.
or is it one possible tool to use on the path that you could benefit from?
Yeah. Actually, in my personal experience, it has been completely drastically changed, my practice so much, and made the other parts of practice more enjoyable, and made me also progress in those other more kind of like insight-based penetrative wisdom. It's helped me a lot. But actually, I don't see how it'd be possible to have like no metta or karuna or mudita upeka and practice the Dhamma. Like I don't think it's possible at all. And I really don't think that you can reach the higher levels of awakening without practicing it. Because how else are you going to overcome vyapada, right? Like anger and greed that you need to reach like the higher levels of awakening, right? Like after Sotapanna, you begin reducing like the greed and the anger, and then when you become an arahant, it's completely gone. So how do those things reduce? Do they just disappear by themselves? Like, I don't think that's the case. I think you actively have to work on removing the greediness and actively work on removing the anger. And it's not just by taking this kind of like non-judgmental stance, but by actually recognizing an unwholesome thought of anger and replacing it with loving kindness, and recognizing a thought of cruelty and replacing it with compassion, right? So that's another thing. I think some of you know that's like one of my rants about like how that's not, we kind of get stuck on this whole like non-judgmental mindfulness, awareness, and even if it's an angry thought, a cruel thought, just observe it. To a certain extent, yes, in the beginning, but then you need to make an effort to get rid of those patterns and not just be like, well, it's okay for me to have all these angry thoughts all the time as long as I don't act on them. That's basically kind of what you're saying. Like, I'm just going to take this step back and just keep all the stuff, all the things hide everything under the carpet. And I know that it's there. I'm mindful that it's under there. And I'm just going to leave it there. No. You got to get it out and you got to start cleaning under there, right? So we have to change the ways we think too. So within this context, I think that it's very important and essential to actively practice loving kindness. And it doesn't have to be formal meditation, right? You can do it in chanting. You can do it in the way you speak to others, the way you treat others. There's so many ways to practice metta. You know, it doesn't have to be 15 minutes a day. You know, sabbe sata bhavantu sukhitata. You know, it doesn't have to be like that formal.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bhante. That's great.
Thank you again for everybody. I think we are running the time also, and looks like no more question, except I have one question.
Okay, Bhante.
How about your trip for the Vietnam?
Oh, yes, yeah. Yeah, Bante, it was so nice. Everywhere I went, the people were so friendly, you know, especially like the older ladies. They're all looking at me very friendly. And then I had one of my friends, he's Vietnamese, and he told me that they would always say, oh, take care of the teacher, take care of Thai. You know, make sure when you show him this place, show Thai this place over here, show Thai that place. So it was very nice. I also visited both Mahayana and Theravada temples when I was there. And then all the monks just treated me like very nicely. They accepted me right away and told me to stay for lunch and stay the night and stay here with us. Don't go back to America and things like that, which was very tempting. I was like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Maybe they had psychic powers or something like that. They could read my mind. But it was so nice, Bante. And I'm hoping to go again whenever I can. Hopefully sometime at the end of the year or next year, Bante. Because I'm so busy right now, no time.
Yeah, it's very wonderful trip. I have also there. I visit there many times. Wonderful people, you know, nice everywhere, you know. So I saw your pictures, everything,
Yes,
you know.
Bante.
I think that's going to be the end of the Dhamma Talk and question and answer. Is anybody in the web? Is anybody there asking any question? No, right? All right. So thank you, Honorable Sanat Vihari again, and I forget to say thanks for your teachers.
No,
I mean, Venerable Kolita and Srinivasa. He's making the wonderful monks for our community. And thanks for your parents also.
Yes.
Thank you again, and hope to see you one day soon. Maybe this year or maybe next year.
Yes, Bante.
Okay. Right now, we're going to chant the page 4 and page 10. If you have the chant book, page 4 and page 10. Namo
Namo
tassa
tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Buddhang Saranam Gacchami Dhammang Saranam Gacchami Sanghang Saranam Gacchami. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. Deluding passions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them all. Dharma gates are limitless. I vow to study them all. Buddha's way is supreme. I vow to attain it. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and the sick find health relief. Neng di du kong duk po kap u nya di nhai dang du sung sang gi nhai gong thái pa dao. Neng di du kong duk po khắp ô nha đi nhai đằng du sung sang ge nhai công thái pa đao. Neng di du kong duk po khắp ô nha di nhai đằng du sung sang ge nhai công thái pa đao. Om Mani Padme Hum.
Again, thank you for everybody. We do have tea and cookies. Coming Sunday, 29th, we are celebrating the Lunar New Year. Please come and join with us. We have lunch for everybody, dana for the monks, and gift for the lay people also. We're going to give a very good gift, which is a red antelope. I don't know how much is going to be there. Who a lucky person will win the super lot or something like. So please come and join. That's it right now. And thank you again, Venerable. And by the power of the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, you all be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.